Tracking monsters. Saguaro National Park in southern Arizona looks like a giant cactus garden. Acres of evenly spaced cacti in every imaginable spiny, prickly shape grow out of pastel-colored gravel. The park's Sonoran Desert home is full of fierce plants adapted to living thirsty. Tough grasses, waxy-leafed bushes, and smooth-skinned trees fill the space between cacti with smells of cooking herbs, tar, and soap. Sounds are part of the desert too. The background buzz of insects is broken by a hawk's call, and there's also a beep, beep, beep noise. Looking at the caption, researchers use radio telemetry to track Gila monsters in and around Saguaro National Park. The beeping is coming from a small black box carried by a man wearing a wide-brimmed hat. Brian Park also holds up what looks like an old-fashioned TV antenna. The beeping box and antenna are radio telemetry instruments. Brian is using them to zero in on a critter with a radio transmitter inside of it. The beeps are getting louder. That means she's nearby. Brian tells the half a dozen people hiking up a hill with him, being careful to avoid the prickly pear and fish hook cacti, he sets down his gear near a hump of granite. The sun-hattered hikers circle the big rock and begin inspecting its crevices and cracks. She's visible, everybody, Brian announces. He's stooped over and is using a small mirror to bounce strong desert sunlight underneath the rock. Everyone moves in for a look. I can see her head in there, someone says. A crouching middle-aged woman puts a hand on the rock to steady herself. I wouldn't put your fingers there, warns Brian. Why not? The animal stuffed underneath the rock can deliver a painful, venomous bite. It's a Gila monster. And you see here, it's a picture, the researcher Brian Park and volunteer citizen scientists zero in on a Gila monster using radio telemetry. Monstrous lizards. And you're going to see these words: iconic, which is a famous, popular, and representative of a place or time; nocturnal, awake and active at night; and burrows, meaning holes or tunnels dug by animals as places to live. Monstrous lizards. Gila monsters are big lizards with powerful, clamping, venomous jaws. They're the largest lizards in the United States, growing up to 2 feet long and weighing up to 3 pounds. Gila monsters belong to a reptile group called Monstersauria, says Kevin Bonine. He's a scientist at the University of Arizona and heads up a Gila monster study. Monstersaurs roamed along T-Rexes and other dinosaurs 100 million years ago. Today, the only other remaining monster lizard species is the beaded lizard, who is also big and venomous. Gila monsters make their homes in the deserts of the southwestern United States and northern Mexico. They're common in Arizona, and it's hard to mistake the large, slow-moving lizards. Gila monsters are chunky, low-to-the-ground lizards covered in pink, orange, and black skin studded with tiny, pebbly bumps. Gila monsters are an iconic species of the Sonoran Desert, says Kevin, but being famous hasn't gotten Gila monsters much scientific attention over the years. Gila monsters aren't easy to study. They are nocturnal, there's another word, much of the year and spend a lot of their time in underground burrows. Gila monsters don't need to be out constantly searching for food like a bird or mouse does. A large adult lizard may eat only a few times a year. Their favorite food is a nest full of baby bunnies or quail eggs. Oh, I don't like that, says Kevin. Gila monsters are expert nest raiders, so they raid the nests of those animals. Okay. Page 339. Kevin Bonine is a herpetologist, a scientist who studies amphibians and reptiles. He's hoping his research will solve some Gila monster mysteries. We're not sure how many Gila monsters are out there or exactly what they'll do all year, says Kevin. Scientists don't even know the time of year the lizards are born. Gila monsters' moms lay eggs in underground burrows in the late summer, and baby Gila hatchlings leave burrows the following spring. When exactly they hatch during those 8 to 10 months is their well-kept secret. Perhaps they hatch in autumn and the hatchlings spend the winter underground? Or are they in the egg of a heck of a long time? Asked Kevin. The list of needed answers about Gila monsters in and around Saguaro National Park is long, says Kevin. How far do they travel in a year? Do they leave the park? How many burrows do they use? Do roads and housing developments affect them? There's a whole lot of mystery, Kevin says. And up here it shows the Gila monster's name comes from the Gila River region of Arizona. We'll come back to this. Female number 291. The Gila monster that Brian Park has tracked down is providing some clues. Gila monster number 291 has a radio inside her. Kevin's team has implanted tiny transmitters inside 8 different Gilas. Now that Brian's telemetry receiver has found number 291 under the big granite rock, Brian and his helpers get to work. As she snoozes undisturbed in her burrow, they write down the lizard's GPS position, note the time of day, take air temperature and humidity measurements, and list the kinds of plants growing around her rock. All of this information will help scientists figure out how much Gila monsters travel about and why. The study is finding that how much a Gila gets around depends on the age, sex, habitat, and the season. During spring and early summer, for example, when males are out looking for mates, they will wander more than females generally. Female number 291 may be on the move too. She was down the hill in the picnic area near the road just 2 weeks ago, says Brian. Is 291 looking for a place to spend the winter? And here you see this picture of radio transmitters like this one that scientists surgically implant into Gila monsters are about the size of a AA battery. A radio collar wouldn't work because it would get in Gila monster's way as it's squeezed under rocks or into holes. They have to implant it. Okay, let's read this here. Armed and armored. Gila monsters look ready for a fight. Their skin is covered in round bumps filled with bone called osteoderms. This studded skin covers their head, tail, and body like armor. Long, powerful claws for digging and strong, powerful clamping jaws are their weapons, and so is their venom. They have venom glands in their lower jaw, explains Brian Park, a Gila monster researcher. Unlike a rattlesnake, a Gila monster can't inject venom. The venom simply mixes into its saliva or spit when they feel threatened. When they bite you, they latch on, explains Brian, and all that venom trickles into you. Sharp, grooved teeth help deliver it, as does chewing on the victim for a good long time. That sounds terrible. A Gila monster's bite is intensely painful, but not fatal to humans. That means you won't die from it. There's no anti-venom treatment, and the bite can make a person sick for weeks. Medical scientists are interested in the venom that Gila monsters make. They've copied unique chemicals found in the lizard's saliva and are testing them as possible drugs for diabetes. Well, that would be a benefit. Attention deficit disorder, and memory loss. While Gila monsters look tough, they aren't aggressive and don't go after people. If you see one, it's likely to be shuffling away from you. If you don't ever stick a finger in front of one or pick it up, you should never have a problem, says Brian. Most bites happen when people are harassing a Gila monster. If pain and suffering aren't reason enough to steer clear of Gila monsters, how about the law? As a protected species, harassing, handling, collecting, or killing them is illegal. Gila monsters were the first protected reptile in Arizona in 1952, and in 1952 became the first protected venomous animal in the United States. Okay. Gila monsters don't have permanent homes. An abandoned pack rat burrow might be a good, cool summer spot, while squeezing under a sunny rock can provide a cozy winter shelter. As with all reptiles, the body temperature of Gila monsters changes with their environment. The beeping radio inside the tracked Gila monster also estimates its body temperature. The warmer the body temperature, the faster the radio beeps. Researchers carefully record the body temperature of each lizard every time they track it. That way they know how much warmer or cooler the animal is in the various shelters it uses throughout the year. The rock that number 291 is currently under gets a lot of sun on one side, says Brian. It might make a decent winter home. BioBlitz and microchips. Filling out 291's data sheet is taking a bit longer than usual. Everyone except Brian Park is new to Gila monster science. The hikers and volunteers taking part in BioBlitz, a 24-hour scientific inventory of every species in Saguaro National Park. They're among the thousands of citizen scientists helping out during the event. So that lots of people can join in the activities and learn about biodiversity. BioBlitzes often take place in national parks near urban areas like Saguaro National Park. The city of Tucson, Arizona fills the space between the park's two separate halves. Citizen science is important for involving the community, says Kevin. It's a big part of the study that researchers at the University of Arizona, including Kevin Bonine and Brian Park, are doing in Saguaro. In fact, their Gila Monster project depends on it. We try to get the public to send us their sightings, explains Kevin. How? They've posted colorful signs at kiosks near trails and in visitor centers. The signs say, "Have you seen me?" above the plump pink Gila Monster. Below the photo are instructions for documenting the sighting and sending in the information. Kevin says people out hiking and park staff can really help us out. The key is taking a photograph of the Gila Monster that clearly shows its markings. The pattern on each individual is like a fingerprint, says Kevin. Researchers at use the color patterns to identify different Gila monsters. Here it's Brian Park and BioBlitz volunteers collect information about Gila monsters. Okay, let's go on now. Oh, look who joined us. Hello, Morris. He came to see what I'm reading. Okay, let's get back to it. Okay, here we go, guys. Sometimes the researchers receive a photo from a citizen scientist that matches a Gila monster they've tagged, which is pretty exciting, says Kevin. The Gila Monster Project has been tagging the large lizards with microchips since 2009. Each tiny microchip tag looks like a metal grain of rice. Ooh, that's tiny. It's the same kind of ID microchip tag that veterinarians use for dogs, cats, and other pets. Each tag has an identification number that a handheld scanner can read. We've tagged more than 150 Gila monsters, says Kevin. Every new Gila monster that the field biologist comes across gets a tag. And here you see it says, by implanting a radio transmitter inside Gila monsters, researchers can track the lizard's movements over time with radio telemetry. Okay, and you can see the tiny, here's the skin of a Gila monster, kind of close up. There's the tiny chip they put inside, catching the monsters. The punishing desert sun is sinking toward the distant mountaintops, but it is still 85 degrees. The giant piled up pink and beige boulders soak up heat like pizza stones. Kevin doesn't seem to break a sweat, however, even though he's got one hand firmly gripping a Gila monster. In his other hand is what looks like a small plastic toothbrush. Kevin puts the softer end of the plastic tool on the lizard's closed mouth, and gives it a nudge. How do you get a Gila monster to open wide? You talk very nicely to him, jokes Kevin. Evidently, it's true. The smoky pink lizard takes the bait, giving the plastic prod a few chomps. It will leave behind enough mouth cells for a DNA sample. So here you see that white plastic probe here collects mouth cells, and then over here, Kevin estimates how much fat is stored in this Gila monster's tail by measuring the volume of water it displaces when the tail is pushed into the graduated cylinder. It says, well-fed, healthy Gila monsters have fat tails. Okay, it's pretty interesting. Gila Monster Project researchers such as Kevin and Brian hike and drive in Saguaro National Park regularly, tracking and checking in on the Gila monsters with radios and looking for new ones. When they come across a Gila monster, they catch it very carefully. 1.5 foot long medical tongs can help hold a squirmy one still. Each animal is measured, weighed, photographed, and injected with a microchip tag under the skin. Researchers also measure the volume of its fat-filled tail to find out how well it is fed. The plastic stick chewed on by the lizard is sent off to a DNA lab for analysis. It gives us the ability to answer a whole range of questions, says Kevin. Big picture questions, such as how similar Saguaro's Gila monsters are to those in California or Mexico, and how closely related to the lizards in the park are to one another. One of the goals of the Gila Monster Project is learning what these large venomous lizards need to thrive, to survive, so they can be protected in the future. Are highways and fences separating Gila monsters and creating small fragmented populations? DNA studies can tell if they are losing genetic diversity or inbreeding. Are new neighborhoods taking away needed habitats? Comparing the lives of Gila monsters not in the park with those inside it can help find out. We want to learn a lot more about them both in the protected areas of the park as well as the wild land-urban interface, says Kevin. That's where they interact with roads and cars, people and dogs, and that sort of thing. The Sonoran Desert is something special, fragile and harsh, dazzling and mysterious. My life has always been tied to the desert, says Kevin of the Sonoran and its creatures. He hopes that the work of the Gila Monster Project will ensure that future generations have that connection too. We are hoping to get data that will be useful for decades to come, he says, so we can learn a lot more about these magnificent lizards and help protect them as well. If you're lucky enough to see a Gila monster in Saguaro National Park, take its picture and write down where you saw it, but keep your fingers to yourself. Okay, and here you see the Gila monsters live in Mojave, Sonoran, and Chickahominy deserts in North America. They smell by picking up scent particles with their purplish forked tongues. Gila monsters have feet and claws made for digging burrows and uncovering prey nests. Okay, all righty. So we read about transmitters, nocturnal, burrows, things that are fragmented. Okay, now what you need to do, boys and girls, is let's look at these questions together, and I want you to jot down the answers here that we discuss in your book. It says, how do you know that tracking monsters, this whole passage, is informational text? Well, what we've learned about informational text, it is full of facts about Gila monsters. There are actual quotes from scientists. They use pictures with captions. And there are main ideas and details. So if you need to finish writing that, go ahead and click pause to finish writing that down, and then hit play when you are ready to move on to the next question. Question 2, what is the author's purpose and message? How does it affect your understanding of the text? Well, you should be thinking right now in your head, could be 2 or 3 purposes, but we want to look at the main purpose. Okay, so we're going to look here. The first one is to inform about Gila monsters, then to persuade the reader to protect the Gila monsters. So those are the 2 authors' purpose. So jot those down. Do that, okay. Click pause while you finish writing, and then hit play when you're ready. Okay, number 3. Summarize how, where, and why researchers study the Gila monsters. So we're going to summarize here how they do it, where they do it, and why. So here we've got, move some things down. Sorry, kiddos. How? They implant, that's an I, sorry for my writing, radio transmitters and microchips to track the Gila monsters. Where are they doing this? In the Saguaro National Park. And why? To discover what the lizards need so humans can protect them. That is why they are doing the research and then sharing it with us. Click pause while you finish, then play when you're done. Last question. Are Gila monsters a greater threat to humans, or are humans a greater threat to Gila monsters? Use evidence to support your opinion. Well, after the passage, you should have learned that we are a much greater threat to them. Humans are a greater threat to Gila monsters because of land development. This is where we're using our text evidence to support. Soil pollution and water pollution. It says Gila monsters do not attack humans unless they are threatened. So make sure you have all of this written down, and then you need to raise your hand so Mrs. Kirkpatrick can come and check that it is done. And then when you are finished and it is checked, you may put your book away and have independent reading time at your desk quietly. I miss you all. I hope everything is going well. I will see you tomorrow. Let's see where, real quick, I'll show you Morris, okay? Here he is. Look at him. basking in the sun. He loves the sun. Morris, can you say hi? Huh? What's up? He's purring, boys and girls. Isn't he so handsome? He's so handsome. Okay, please be good. I hope to be getting good reports from you when I return tomorrow. I want to celebrate your good behavior. And yeah, enjoy reading. Independent reading once you show Mrs. Kirkpatrick. Bye-bye.